Welcome back. Right now, we are awaiting word from the Justice Department about whether it will formally appeal the judge's appointment of a special master to oversee documents seized from Mar-a-Lago. They certainly said they would be okay with the special master the judge ended up picking. That judge, Aileen Cannon, did reject the Justice Department's request for a stay to her previous motion, and that blocked the Justice Department's request to immediately access a cache of classified documents that they obtained during last month's search of former President Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate. Now, the judge also named Raymond Dearie. This is a senior U.S. district judge from New York as special master to review all of the material taken from Mar-a-Lago. Trump's lawyers had proposed Dearie as a potential special master earlier this week, and the Justice Department signaled its approval for him as a neutral third-party arbiter. So, I'm joined now by our Justice and Intelligence correspondent, Ken Delaney, and also joined by Bradley Moss, an attorney who specializes in national security. So, Ken, let me start with you. And sort of this confusion here of what Justice is doing, are they going to appeal? Are they both going to sort of cooperate and appeal? Is that essentially what they're doing here?
Yeah, Chuck, I expect the Justice Department to appeal this order in its entirety. That's what they signaled they would do a while ago when they filed a notice with the 11th Circuit. I also expect them to ask this circuit to do exactly what they asked this judge to do, which is to put a temporary stay on just this narrow part of her order that has to do with the classified documents, because that's where their interest is the strongest. The executive branch comes into court and says, this is a national security issue, we need these classified documents. Generally, the courts defer to that. This judge did not, but generally the courts do. And so that seems to be what they care about most. They want access to the 100 classified documents that they seized at Mar-a-Lago now to use in their criminal investigation. Right. Now, the judge threw them a couple of bones and said, well, hey, you can still continue to use them in your national security damage assessment. You can even have the FBI help out. You can even have the FBI ask questions about these documents without using their content. But that isn't enough for the Justice Department. And so I do anticipate that they will appeal, even as they go through this master process, because that's the way it works. They'll continue to do what the judge has asked them to do while they appeal.
This November 30th deadline, I know that, Ken, the Justice wanted it moved up. At the end of the day, is it that much of a delay, 2 months? Is November 30th mean Justice can pick right back up where they are once it's done?
Yeah, I think so. I think this ends up being just a speed bump rather than a roadblock, especially because the judge directed the special master to review the classified documents first. So even if they don't get the stay, even if they don't win on appeal, it seems like they'll get those classified documents rather quickly, and it's not clear how much they care about the rest of the documents that they seized from Donald Trump's office and from the storage room. So the master will go about his business. The only weird thing about what the judge has asked the master to do is this idea that he can review things for executive privilege. Yeah. There's no precedent for that, and it's not clear what law he's going to apply to that, and that could take some time, and potentially beyond November. But again, it's not really clear that it matters in terms of the FBI's criminal investigation, which involves talking to witnesses just as much as it involves these documents.
Yeah, so Bradley Moss, tell me in your expert opinion, how much is it just set back the Justice Department's timeline a little bit, or is it more damaging?
No, I mean, it's strictly a delay tactic, which is a very typical Trump thing to do here. He's just trying to push everything off for a while and delay an eventual indictment with the hope that if the indictment ultimately comes, he can then use pretrial motions to delay a trial, get it all the way to November 2024, and either he or someone favorable to him would get elected and shut this all down. What Ken was saying was very true. There's no real precedent to have a special master do some of this work, especially with the documents with classification markings. I do not know, and the special master order didn't clarify, I don't know what this person is truly going to be able to do other than look at the documents, say, okay, I see classification markings. What am I supposed to do with that? Trump team's going to say, well, we declassified him. He goes, great. None of the 3 statutes at issue that were the basis for the search warrant have anything to do with whether or not the documents were classified. It's about the classification markings, and they're still there, and they're still valid. What am I supposed to do here?
Is there any chance, Bradley, that because he runs into this, okay, now what am I supposed to do with this, that the judge intervenes and somehow is able to delay this process further?
Well, whatever he ultimately concludes, and it's certainly possible that the special master will go to the Trump team and say, okay, these classification markings are valid. Present an argument to me of why you would potentially have any right to have these back, even if you were declassified. Whatever the ultimate recommendation that comes from the special master, it then goes to Judge Cannon. She's not bound by it. She can overrule it. And whatever she concludes, especially on this issue of, one, if the classification markings are valid, and two, if there's any possessory right for Donald Trump in them, which I can't fathom there would be, whatever she concludes, if she rules against Donald Trump, he can then appeal that, which, again, this is just a delay tactic, which is why doing this in a pre-indictment phase like this for such an unprecedented type of review is extraordinary. And that's why justice is appealing already to the 11th Circuit.
Is there an argument to be made, Bradley, that this is actually, look, justice already knows they have their case. They know what they're prosecuting. Fine, you want to do this. This is only going to give justice more credibility over time. Fair?
I certainly think it's fair, and I certainly do more or less agree. I think they've already got the case. I think they were dotting the I's and crossing the T's with this search warrant. They were verifying not just the unlawful retention of these documents, which was bad enough on its own. They wanted to go at him with the obstruction. That was the cream on the top of the cake. They wanted all of it, and that's what they got with these documents, proving the obstruction. But now they need to wait out this process, go to the special master, so they can have the full range of evidence to present to the grand jury and proceed for an indictment.
Ken, is Bradley's theory something that is whispered about at the Justice Department?
100%. Bradley's a very smart lawyer. He knows what's going on here. Yeah, I agree with him completely. And I think that, I would say this. They're still investigating, right? They're talking to everybody who knows anything about how these documents were transported, who saw them, what Donald Trump knew about it, what was he doing with them. Those are all really relevant facts that the FBI may not have 100% handle on yet and is still asking questions about. But the question of did they possess them and was there a lie told about no classified documents being at Mar-a-Lago, that seems to be a pretty open and shut question at this moment.
Yeah, this is, perhaps this is why justice is taking its sweet time to actually file their appeal. Anyway, Ken Delaney and Bradley Moss helping bring some clarity to what is a complicated story to follow at times. So thank you.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.